Hey, what up, guys? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for joining me with another episode of BrassReel tonight. So, got some news today, some bad news. Actually, it was yesterday, but I heard it at the very end of the day before I could do the show earlier that I did with Rylan. And Richard Donner passed away. So, in lieu of all that happening and in honor of Richard Donner, I decided, to me, there's no news bigger than that today for me. Even in the news that was actually coming out, nothing was really worth discussing compared to just Donner's death. I'm not even going to talk about how he died. He was 91. I'm just going to talk about the greatness that is Richard Donner. Richard was amazing. He was a huge influence to most every director that's in the industry, and he's worked with all the best, produced some of the best, all the actors that he's worked with. Everybody loved him. He's created legendary films in every genre. And also anybody that's a film lover just can't deny the greatness of Richard Donner. They can't deny what that guy did for everybody's childhood, even later on in life with movies like Conspiracy Theory and stuff like that. So I'm just going to talk about, like I said, the greatness that is Donner. I don't know if you guys were into Richard Donner or care about Richard Donner much. I know for me, I didn't really know exactly who Richard Donner was. I didn't start paying attention to who he was until I started seeing his name just plastered at the beginning of the Lethal Weapon films. And at the beginning of Lethal Weapon 1, 2, 3, 4, they always really made a point to show that Joel Silver and that Richard Donner logo at the beginning, you know. Man, for some reason, that just had a huge impact on me. Now, Lethal Weapon wasn't the first Donner movie that I ever saw. Superman was the first Donner movie I ever saw, but I didn't know it was a Donner movie when I was watching it. I was just watching Superman. You know what I'm saying? So as far as Superman's concerned, I mean, I think it's, again, undeniable what Superman brought to the industry. I mean, look at this. Nothing had come out at that time. And not only is it Superman directed by Richard Donner, which I'm not sure if he was just a huge director at the time. I know that he was a sought out director. But look, you got Marlon Brando in there and you got Gene Hackman at the bottom, even though Marlon Brando got top billing. But nothing had ever come out like this movie. This movie swept the nation. Even the trailer alone, people were like, oh my God, it was amazing. There's just anybody that's in film today, and I hate to talk about Bryan Singer because we've all kind of learned that he's a piece of trash. He's kind of a douchebag. I don't know that for fact because I don't know him, but everything in Hollywood points to it. And there's a lot of people that have come out saying certain things about him, and multiple people, and his reaction, the way that he's reacted. He's like ran other ways and just avoided and abandoned projects while on them because he was worried about getting in trouble. Anyways, with that being said, I can't ignore that Bryan Singer's made some great films, and he'll tell you right away that his influence completely in the industry was Richard Donner. So much to the fact that he declined doing X-Men 3 because he was able to do Superman Returns, which that's a whole other story. I think that one gets kind of a bad rap, but I do understand why people don't like it. It's got a strange vibe to it. But I'm getting distracted. We're talking about Donner today. So, excuse me, got something in my eye. Man, I haven't had anything in my eye all day. And as soon as I get on doing a live stream, it's like, God dang it. But Superman, not only did he make 1 and 2 at the same time, which the Donner cut, which was released later on, but it was filmed at the same time as part 1. And that was the first time really any movie studio had filmed anything that was a huge, massive blockbuster like that. It's something that was 2 movies at once, and we're just going to go ahead and make sure both sequels come out. Well, then, if you're a Superman fan and a Richard Donner fan, you know the story. He ended up getting fired after the massive success of the first one, which that doesn't make any sense to me. A movie does amazing, and you fire them halfway through they're finishing the final product that you hired them for, and it's already doing good. It just doesn't make any sense. So they hired Richard Lester to do like the touch-up scenes and add all this different flavor, more of a honestly campy vibe to the film. While Superman 2, the original one, is watchable and it's still really good, it's mostly because of Richard Donner. There's very little of that movie that you see that's directed by Richard Lester. However, the scenes that he directed and put in there do really change the tone of the film. When they released the Richard Donner cut, probably about 10 years ago now, I would imagine, that is amazing. That changes the whole vibe. It feels like the first one. They continued a lot of stuff from the first one into the second one. It just works a lot better. It honestly, I've replaced part two with that one. When I watch them, and don't get me wrong, they get progressively worse. I still like part three for a lot of reasons. But I just think it was weird that they fired him. But Superman 2, the original one, even without the Richard Donner cut, still is mostly his film. He really did shoot most of that. Very little of it did he not shoot. So I'm getting off track with it. It's Superman, just truly a phenomenal film. Paved the way for superhero films. There had not been anything like it. Anytime you'd seen Superman on screen, it was honestly kind of laughable. I mean, I guess it was cool for the time, but it was never truly believable like you saw it when the 1978 version came out. Now, yeah, is it a little dated now? Of course it is, but that's a lot to do with us being upgraded with effects, and we're used to better effects now. And two, things were shot differently. There was nothing filmed digitally back then. It was all on film. So just the clarity wasn't there on the screen like it is now for you to pick apart effects like you can today. Now, it wasn't as good as effects are today, obviously, but it really did work for the time, and I thought it was awesome. I was obsessed with that movie as a kid. But moving on to the next thing that I was hugely obsessed with, still am. It's my favorite movie of all time. Right here, I'm wearing the shirt. You can see it. Is hands down Goonies. I mean, to me, it's got everything. I don't know what other movie really has what Goonie has, as far as it's got comedy, it's got scares, it's got a little bit of horror, it's a coming of age story, it's got a little romance here and there. I mean, it has everything. To me, that movie covers it all. And it has that ET vibe a little bit because it was produced by Spielberg, but Donner did direct this movie. And when you watch the behind the scenes of this thing, you really, if your heart isn't already there for Donner, your heart it just grows so much bigger for him when you see the way he acts with the kids and stuff on the set, and just how cool he is with them, how patient he is with them, how he talks about how much he loves them, but he wants to wring their necks, but how much he actually learned and grew as a person and as a director by working with these kids. I just thought it was really cool, some of the things that he says behind the scenes. Could have said a lot of other things. A lot of directors hate working with kids, and they're like, but he was able to see the beauty of life still while on set making a big budget movie. He still understood that life mattered, and these kids, their time while filming this movie mattered, that they actually should enjoy it and remember it. It's something that is going to be in their heads and brains forever. In fact, any of those actors are going to tell you that is the most memorable film experience they've ever had, a lot of times because it was their first one, which is a big deal. If something is your first time, you want to be, if you're somebody like Richard Donner, I hope that you would want to make sure that experience is really special for that person if it's their first time. But then you have people like Josh Brolin, who I think it may not have been his first role, but definitely was his first big one. And then it opened the door for him. Corey Feldman, Sean Astin, Chunk and Data. I mean, the movie's just phenomenal. The jokes, the one-liners are great. You got Sloth. Hey, you guys. All right. All my friends are going to just be like, I can't believe you did that. The movie's just phenomenal. It's my favorite movie of all time. I can rewatch it no matter what. It's even got that adventure vibe to it, kind of Indiana Jones treasure hunting thing. I mean, it covers so much. The pirate thing at the end. I just love it. To me, there's not a better movie on the face of the planet. Now, that's also because it's extremely nostalgic. All the kids in there were just like me when I was growing up. I had, during the summertime, we hung out at one of our friends' houses or something, you know what I'm saying? And all the parents were always out of town. It was just awesome. They depicted that so well. So I really related to it like crazy. But as I started to get a little older, not that I disliked Goonies anymore because I still love it, but I started to get interested in more films. And once I found out about Lethal Weapon, I think when I saw it, might have been my favorite movie of all time. Now, when I saw it, obviously that probably even changed within the year of me saying that. But once I saw that movie and I saw it on video, I wasn't able to see it in the theater or anything. I think I was able to watch it with my mom and my dad one night, or maybe I watched it at my grandma. I don't know. It's besides the point. But everything about that movie, Mel Gibson was so badass and Danny Glover was so badass, but the direction was so sleek and so cool. And with the saxophone and the guitar by Eric Clapton, that movie, I'd never seen an action movie that was so cool like that. Everything I'd say, I mean, I saw Rambo before, I'd seen pieces of Rocky and things like that. Those had a very movie feel to me, but Lethal Weapon seemed real. It seemed like, look at these two average Joes that are awesome, and just Riggs and Murtaugh's dynamic together. I'm getting too old for this shit. All that is great. And, you know, I don't care what people say about Mel Gibson. I'm not condoning what he did. He's definitely said some things that you got to watch out for, but I think he made a mistake. I don't think that anyone for one mistake should be just erased and canceled. I don't believe in cancel culture or anything like that. I think people deserve second chances. Any of us have all gotten multiple chances, way more than second chances. Anybody out there has gotten a second chance. So I think that he's just like that. He deserves it. Even though he's famous, he's still a human. So that doesn't make me dislike the Lethal Weapon movies or anything that Mel Gibson's in any less. In fact, I think they're all phenomenal movies in their own right. The third one is, I would definitely say it's my least favorite, but I still love it. There's nothing I don't like about that movie, but just about to put them in order. I love 1, 2 might be my favorite. 1's probably right after, then 4, then 3. Chris Rock was cool in 4, was a nice addition, but I really like the way they made those two characters age. They embraced that in the storyline. And that's the beauty about those sequels. Those were sequels that actually felt good. They felt warranted. They didn't feel like they were beating a dead horse, because I loved these characters and they were well written, well directed by the man, Donner. Man, rest in peace. I mean, 91 is a good age. It's a long life, but still just kind of sucks when somebody's so influential and so big to you or to everybody in the industry when they pass. It's sad. It's a sad day. But like I said, I'm choosing to honor him for talking about all this stuff. So Lethal Weapon movies, while Goonies obviously is a huge testament for his career, and definitely what I'm talking about. Oh, and Superman, definitely Superman first off. But I think that Lethal Weapon is his true stamp. It was original material, wasn't pulled from anything else, wasn't really teaming up with a big name like Spielberg. You know, Spielberg is half of what sold Goonies to the audiences and everybody else. But Lethal Weapon, I feel like, is his baby, his true stamp. And then leading on to the next one after that, which, by the way, I didn't mean to get stuck on that dang shared screen right there. I got to get better about that. You know, just to give a little love to Lethal Weapon. Just look at this picture right here. I mean, that is amazing. Just that poster says it all. I don't think anything else looks as cool as that. I mean, just look at Riggs and Murtaugh. And that scene in the movie is so cool. And how many other scenes have done it like that? I mean, that's like a dance when they do that in that movie. Phenomenal. I don't care what anybody says. It's awesome. I don't think anybody's arguing with me. I think anybody that loves good movies, likes Lethal Weapon, can agree that it's awesome. But after that one, another one that him and Richard Donner did, which I thought was excellent, pleasant surprise when I saw this, and I watched this 1,000 times as well, was Maverick. And Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, beautiful role in that by both of them. Their chemistry is amazing. And the fact that it sort of ties in with the original show with James Garner, and he's in it. I just think that's really cool. Very clever thing, kind of in the vein of the way they did the Mission Impossible movie, the first one. But the comedy's great in here. The action's great in here. The romance is great in there. It's a little suspenseful at moments. It's lighthearted the entire time while it's being suspenseful. It's very clever. It's heartwarming. You get a little wrapped up into the characters. I just feel like it shows Richard Donner's lighthearted side while still being a really fun movie. And that's the thing. He dipped his toe into so many genres. I mean, Superman and Goonies, yeah, those are adventure films, but they're totally different style of adventure films. Totally different. Then after that, Lethal Weapon, just super action, his own thing, his own, God, this fly is killing me. Hadn't been here all day. Again, when I start filming. But Lethal Weapon was its own thing. Maverick sort of brushed the dust off of something that was old and made it new again. That was awesome. I couldn't find a better looking poster than this. That was just the best one I can do. But I definitely just think that that was scratching the surface of what Richard Donner could do, because what you have next, and I say next, what I didn't realize he did until later in life was The Omen. Now, this is a horror movie. I'm a huge horror fan. This is a horror movie I didn't actually realize existed until probably 15 or 16. I'd maybe heard the term Damien. I'd heard things like that, but I never really realized there was this whole movie about this kid that was supposed to be the Antichrist. And I ended up loving it. Gregory Peck's awesome. And there's actually an awesome documentary you can watch on Shudder called Cursed Films, just about the whole trouble and curse they had on the production of making this movie. People were dying. Gregory Peck almost died. There's a lot going on in this movie behind the scenes that makes it so much eerier, the fact that it was The Omen. But it is Richard Donner, and I just think another genre that shows that he can shine in is horror. And this was early in his career as well. I just forgot to mention it earlier on. Great film, and they even made more after it. I don't think that any of them were quite as good as this one. The remake was pretty good with Liev Schreiber. It's still not as good as this movie. There's just an eeriness and a tone that he captures in this movie that really works. Kind of the way The Shining captured sort of a supernatural vibe of that creepiness. This one really captures the tone of evil throughout the film. Like I feel the evil in Omen when I watch it. There's something about it. But like I said, just showing how great Donner could do in all different types of genres. I don't know if you guys saw the little reunion they did on, it was like Josh Gad, he does those reunions. This is right when the pandemic started and everybody was doing like 80s movie reunions on Zoom. And they did one for the Goonies, and all of them were on there and everything. And it was great. I mean, everybody was on there, Josh Brolin, all that. But Donner was on there, and it was so funny because he couldn't figure out how to work the mute button and everything. But once he started talking, he was able to get heard. He figured all that out. He was still just as witty and still just as funny and still just as endearing as ever. So that made my heart warm to see that. Later in his career, though, he did another one called 16 Blocks. I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but with Bruce Willis and Mos Def. Mos Def, great acting job, phenomenal acting job. I didn't know that he had the chops on him like that. To me, this was one of Willis's last good acting jobs. I hate to say that. Something happened to Willis along the way. I'm hoping that he can come back. Maybe he can, but he's just, something happened. I don't know what it is, but he just ain't the same in his movies anymore. I don't buy his acting. I feel like I can see the acting. He's doing really weird movies, but I think that might be because he can't get any roles. Heard some people didn't like working with him towards the latter part of, his really successful career, because he still has a career, but it's just kind of straight to video career, which is, again, weird to say about Bruce Willis. But this movie, excellent movie, super heartwarming. It's got just a beautiful story about a man can change even in the later days of his life, even when he's lost everything and he has relatively nothing to fight for. It's still something can happen to make him, you know what, it's worth me doing this, and I can make a difference doing this. And the movie, it was a surprise. I went and saw it with my ex-wife at the time, just saw it because it was Bruce Willis, but I was like, I don't know anything about it. As soon as I got in there, it said Richard Donner film. I was like, oh shit, well, this is going to be a good movie. And it was great. I loved it. Twists and turns. It's a corrupt cop crime drama while being an action film, and just excellent acting. Thought it was great. Definitely one I think that's under the radar. I think a lot of people need to revisit that one or check it out if they haven't seen it. Not going to really talk about a whole lot more here, but the Christmas movie he did, Scrooged, this one, again, tipping his toe in another genre that's like it's a holiday film, but it's a unorthodox holiday film. It's the play on the movie, or Christmas Carol, with Scrooge. But this one, Bill Murray, sure you know the premise. He's that CEO of a TV station, and he's just a jerk. I mean, he is the jerk of jerks. And so they do the Ghost of Christmas Past thing, but they do it in much more of this weird, almost horror-esque fashion. Sometimes it's not horror. Sometimes it's kind of in a comedic way. Sometimes it's in a really sad way. But there's one or two moments in the movie where it gets a little dark and gets a little creepy. I even remember as a kid watching it being like, oh my God, that's a little scary. You know, kind of turning your eyes away, but not wanting to stop watching it. You know, you're like looking through your shirt a little bit. But Scrooge, another example of what somebody can do in a movie. Take a Christmas carol, put a spin on it, make it almost a comedy, do it Bill Murray style, to where you're forgetting that it's a spin on the Christmas Carol. And now you're just kind of actually caring about the crude humor in the film, and you're caring about all the jokes that Bill Murray has going. But before you know it, a chain of events happen and it reels you back in. And Bill Murray has that beautiful speech at the end that almost gets me choked up every time I watch it. So Scrooge is actually one of those ones I watch every year. Donner movies, man. I'm telling you, he has movies that I rewatch at a certain time every time I'm going through the seasons of the year. You know, I'll get in the action movie season or blockbuster movie season, and something will be like, you know, I want to watch Lethal Weapon. Same thing with 16 Blocks. Sometimes I'll watch a good crime drama on TV or something. It's like, you know what? I need to watch that movie again. Really good. I rewatch movies a lot, but I love doing that. That's what it's all about. Needless to say, me being a comic book nerd back there, I rewatched the F out of Superman and every comic book movie. That's just the way I am. I rewatch them all the time. And then a lot of people didn't know that he did this one, Assassins. I don't know if you guys remember that with Antonio Banderas and Sylvester Stallone. Phenomenal movie. Oh, Julianne Moore also, young Julianne Moore. One of those ones I think that people may have flew under the radar because it wasn't a summer release. It was, as you can see right there, it says starts October 6th. It, to me, very good. People don't give it enough credit. I think it's two of their best roles. It's kind of a buddy cop movie, but it's not a cop movie. They're assassins, but it does have that kind of the way Hobbs and Shaw was. These two like high lead mercenary type characters that are at each other's throats verbally all the time, and they're always throwing one-liners back and forth. But some serious stuff is going on. Great movie, like I said. Old Donner. I mean, he's not really branching out with this when he's doing more action, but it definitely was. It's different than it's like Lethal Weapon in the sense that it's these two guys that can't really stand each other. Lethal Weapon, they couldn't stand each other really only in the first one. After the first one, they loved each other. But in the first one, they couldn't stand each other. This one's the kind of same way, but it's more of a sleek, cooler film. For one, they're both badasses in it. It's not like, you know, one of them, like, even though Murtaugh is a badass in Lethal Weapon, he's forced to be a badass. He's not like born a badass like Riggs was. But another great one, Assassins. If you guys haven't checked it out, totally recommend it. And that's just me talking about like my favorite ones of Richard Donner and just how influential he was to every genre and every industry. You know, like I said, kids movies, adventure movies, horror films, suspense movies like Conspiracy Theory, which was a little weird plots, action movie. I mean, he knew it was up in the industry. He made his mark on the industry. Films, I believe, truly today wouldn't be what they were in a certain manner. Obviously, they'd still exist, but I think he carved out a lot of work for what superhero movies should be like, and a lot of people followed that template after that. Same thing with the buddy cop movie. A lot of people followed that template after that. Goonies. I think a lot of people wanted to do more movies like kids. I mean, if you look at Stranger Things, I mean, that's Goonies just in a different setting. Point I'm trying to make is the Donner was the man. I love you with all my heart. God rest your soul. My heart and condolences go out to your family, your friends, everybody who knew you. I know that you had a lot of love and much respect. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention that he was the producer of all the X-Men films, the entire X-Men franchise he was a producer of. So the guy knows what's up. And I think he may have produced Superman Returns as well. But rest in peace, Richard Donner. Love you with all my heart. You will be missed. Well, thanks for joining me for some more BrasReel tonight, guys. Like I said, I didn't really do any super news topics except for Richard Donner dying. I thought it was warranted, me just spending some time honoring him. But catch me tomorrow. I'll have some more episodes or some more news for y'all coming. And I got a review that I'm about to release tomorrow morning. I Know What You Did Last Summer, so get ready for that one. And Click on my other reviews on BrassReel Brothers. Check me out all over the place. You can find me on Facebook, BrassReel Bobby at BrassReel. Oh, that's my Twitter. You can find BrassReel Brothers on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at Bobby Williams, and you can find me on Twitter, BrassReel Bobby at BrassReel. Well, that's it, guys. Toodaloo, live long and prosper, and up and away.